Mr. Alexander Weller
z Niemiec,
from Germany,
nauczyciel
a teacher
i pedagog ze szkoły w Schwäbisch Gmünd,
from Schwäbisch Gmünd, also an activist promoting
nauczania, promocję różnych narzędzi
various
cyfrowych w szkole.
digital tools at school.
Przybliży nam, jak
And he is going to talk about
zamknięcia zdalnej edukacji wyglądał,
teaching and learning during lockdown in Germany and the lessons to be drawn.
Oh, hello, Alexander. It's nice to see you, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for your invitation in this great event. Normally I see my publicum. Today it's not possible, so I'm alone here, and I hope you hear me well. My name is Alexander Weller, and I work as a teacher in the Friedensschule Schwäbisch Gmünd. It's very hard to spell for Polish people, that's true. Besides, I work as for the Landesmedienzentrum Baden-Württemberg, where I visit many schools all over Baden-Württemberg and conduct online security trainings with the students. For the Landesmedienzentrum, I train students to become media mentors who help other students to find their way around the net. The Friedensschule Schwäbisch Gmünd is a very special school. It's a community school, so to say a school for everyone. In Germany, we like to separate pupils after so-called elementary school. All students can go to the Friedensschule, no matter what their grades of elementary schools are. That's very special in Germany. We as community school have committed ourselves to support all students individually. Today, I would like to report on the lessons we learned at school during the school closures in Baden-Württemberg. It was a very hard time. Shortly before we closed the schools in Baden-Württemberg on March 17th, no teacher, and not even me, could imagine that this would happen. A small virus changed the whole world. Suddenly, classes had to be reorganized. To give the teachers in Baden-Württemberg a little more time, the schools were closed on Tuesday instead of Monday. Though the children should be able to pick up the materials produced by the teachers for at least 3 or 4 weeks. So Monday was not a real school day, but a real copy battle. If you are too late, you can't copy as much as you want. Yes, that's special too. We mainly produced materials in paper form. So, and why? Because like most schools in Baden-Württemberg, and that's our school, I forgot to start the presentation, that's the Friedensschule Schwäbisch Gmünd. Like the most schools in Baden-Württemberg, we got no really digital infrastructure. We are on our way, but we are not in the state that we can change materials just the day we like to do it. We did not have yet a learning platform. Since I've been a Moodle fan for several years, I ran a private Moodle, which some of my students had access to. We often practiced this in class, but unfortunately, all the servers in the country broke down under the load of many accesses, and in the first week, digital lessons were therefore not possible. However, the situation calmed down again, and after 1 week, the state of Baden-Württemberg quickly invested in higher server capacities. So, online lessons would be, just possible. But after the first material packages were completed and the students were to continue to be taught at home, we decided to set up a Moodle for the whole school. Yeah. We choose Moodle for several reasons. On the one hand, the state of Baden-Württemberg had one Moodle installed for each school, and this directly in the first week of school closure. On the other hand, we had already experience with the system, partly due to my private Moodle. The colleagues found their way around the system relatively quickly. That was our first lesson. Or this is the second lesson. The first lesson, we had to install a learning platform that wasn't here in our school. So the next problem that now arose was the communication possibilities. We weren't able to query in the hectic rush of the closing schools if we can reach children. Can we really reach all students? Unfortunately not. I had to phone very often and for a very long time to reach one or the other student. Very often I spoke on the phone with mothers who were at the end of their nerves, and as usual daily routine was almost non-existent. In the beginning of the closed school period, we started to change everything we normally did. So the situation in the families were in the focus of the teachers. The situation of families whose children were in my class was very different. Some of them has managed to have an adult present all times. In other families, it was completely different, so that children had hardly any contact and did little or nothing for school. For us as teachers, was the focus mainly on these families. My colleague, for example, used to call one family every morning who themselves had such big problems that everybody was happy if even a teacher called and did a few nice words or simple exercises with the students. So that was our second lesson. We had to make sure that we reach children. On my way in the distance learning, I tried a lot of things, especially with the video conferencing systems. My conclusion, I can say before, was that video conferencing cannot represent a normal lesson. In the beginning of the closed school period, we did Zoom meetings, but some students did not want to install the app. When Zoom in Baden-Württemberg was declared for unusable for data protection reasons, we tried Jitsi Meet and Big Blue Button. I immediately realized that the kids didn't want lessons, but since the students come from different places, they just wanted to say hello to each other. Parents reported that their children said that this was exactly what they were missing. A little bit of class community, a little bit of normality. The mutual exchange then became integral part of these online meetings. Yeah? Sometimes I reach children only via telephone or letters. And these children often hang up. And the third lesson immediately follows. Children need the exchange with other children, even in a school setting, because they would not meet privately. Video conferences can help, but of course they cannot replace a personal contact. And that was very hard for some of our children in the class. In the Friedensschule, the discussion about better communication continued in the meantime, and we have placed our trust in a young startup from Schwäbisch Gmünd to provide a messenger and a school administration program. So at the beginning of the year, we had already personal contact and the demonstration of the software. We became a cat for school. A cat for school, that's the software we use in our school. I was tasked with getting all teachers and all students into the messenger services. It was important for us to offer different messenger than WhatsApp because the students should have the sign that we care about what they do and what they do with the data they produce. The students had adapted and accepted the app as often, much faster than we teachers had. Especially among us adults, the German angst of new things was clear. There are still a few small problems, but we are on our way. And I said data protection. Data protection is a very complicated topic in Germany. Due to our federal structure, different things are possible in different federal states. In Baden-Württemberg, for example, a messenger was also introduced for the period of school closure. Every teacher can install Trima Work on his or her smartphone, and the Ministry of Education and Cultural Affairs allows the use of this crypto messenger for notes or for the official communication. That was very new to us. We in Schwäbisch Gmünd decided for this small startup, Cat for School. And for us colleagues, it was a milestone, so we can use a messenger to communicate with the students and with parents. In the meantime, Moodle was running better and better, and many colleagues suddenly started using digital tools. They had rather dubious reputation until then. Some of them produced videos or to support learning at home. Others created interactive PDF files so that students had less printing costs. By the way, this was also a point I had to discuss with parents. People often ask, is it really need to be printed? In some families, there were either no printer or the printing costs of several pages was too high. Many children had also never printed from the smartphone before. Most of the time, this was a device used to process tasks and contents. This is exactly why we have decided to focus more on interactive ways of doing things in the school year 2021. That was our 5th lesson. The content must be adapted to the main device children carry out. Most students are on the road with their smartphones, which means we have to provide content and tasks that are easy to work on with a smartphone. In the most families, there were no PCs, but smartphones are everywhere. And the 6th lesson is a very personal lesson. In Germany, voices were repeatedly raised saying that we teachers in Corona times have a very good time. At least, therefore, we had nothing to do. So that was not the truth. Sometimes I stood up in the morning at 7 o'clock, sit on my desk, and I left it at 9 o'clock in the evening. It's not a normal day. Normally, I go to school, had my lessons, and and later on, I made my preparations for the next days. But in these times, it was really a chaos. So, So we contacted parents, we contacted children, we advised colleagues and questioned about the learning platform and so on. And our day was extremely unstructured, extremely hard because of preparing materials for whom. We didn't even know if the children can learn with our materials. And the lesson I had to learn is that a good structure of a day is not only my task, it's also a task for the children and for the families. And the second task I had to learn is that I not have to be perfect. I think distance learning is a system which can cope with several issues. And sometimes you have to be satisfied with imperfect situations. So that was the perspective of a small German school here in Schwäbisch Gmünd. And we made our lessons, and I heard that the speakers before had the same lessons in their program. I think it's all over Europe, the same and very hard way to distance learning. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Thank you very much for this presentation. I think many of our listeners, Polish teachers and also from other countries, can reflect in your experience. I think it was very good to summarize all those lessons learned in those in those points you mentioned. And well, it's still valid. Unfortunately, Here in Poland, we hear every day that some of schools are closed because of virus found in the school. So for sure, distance learning is not over. It will be more and more important. But probably the main thing is to learn those lessons from the experience. Thank you once again.